Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the main stage. We've got two quick-fire guest addresses now. The first up, Sarah, our events director, interviews Jarron Aizen, founder and CEO of OneFitStop. A great conversation, I'm sure, will follow. So without further ado, here's Sarah and Jarron.
Welcome to the World Fitness and Wellness Online Summit organized by the Fit Summit. My name is Sarah and I am the head of events at Fit Summit. Today, I also have the honor of interviewing a successful individual, Jarron Aizen. Jarron is the CEO and founder of OneFitStop. OneFitStop is trusted by business owners globally to manage, automate, and grow their fitness business. They provide innovative technology that is dedicated to the needs and requirements of the fitness industry. The OneFitStop software helps to automate business operations, increase revenue, and nurture client relationships. Thanks for joining us in this interview, Jarron. Let's now dive into the first question. Jarron, it's great to have you with us today. Can you just share with us the idea behind OneFitStop and the catalyst in starting your business?
Our vision behind OneFitStop was all about creating an omni-channel ecosystem, a frictionless ecosystem. What we saw in the industry of technology powering fitness businesses was a fragmented approach, an add-on here or third-party technology here. And so what was happening was owners and operators across the industry was having to deploy a system for membership management, another system for marketing automation and pipeline nurturing. And now as we look at it, also third-party tools for digital offerings and other systems. And overall, what was happening was that the member experience was just depleting and it wasn't unified. And so our goal and our mission as an organization is to be able to complete these journeys, not only for you as business operators and your staff, but also for your members to make sure that they have the best experience possible that we could provide.
That's amazing. I completely agree with you on the fragmented approach that most of the industry had initially. And now you just basically unified into having a one-stop solution. So thank you for explaining a bit about your business. Billions of dollars of capital are now being invested in fitness and wellness tech. How do you see these investments playing out?
So it's absolutely no surprise that the money's flowing in. The last 2 years running, we've seen wearables top the charts in the #1 fitness trends. And now we're seeing how that actually is playing out with big money floating in with companies like Mirror, Peloton, Tonal, Whoop, and even with Apple's latest release of their fitness product for digital streaming and how integrated it is to the wearables and the Apple Watches, which is so fundamental in completing that journey of hardware, software, and then tackling into that consumer database and those users that they have access to drive new ways of consuming fitness. And so I think it's going to be incredibly interesting to see how it plays out. And for our sector and the customers that we service who primarily have physical bricks and mortar facilities to now have to understand and navigate our waters of this ever-changing environment. And for the first time, really, money that the fitness industry has never really seen pouring into it to this degree. And so I think we've got a huge challenge ahead of ourselves, but at the same time, a lot of great opportunity as we sort of be a bit more malleable and agile as we go through the next months and years ahead.
Funny that you say that because recently when I had a recent interview, we actually said that the fitness tech era that was coming for the longest time is finally here. And we're all basically enjoying the fruit of our labor that we've been trying so hard to bring tech into the industry. So like what you mentioned, the big tech giants coming in, there's also more money pouring into the sector. So I completely agree with you. How do you think are SaaS providers evolving to meet the requirements of operators?
So I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of a membership management system. And for a very long time, traditional membership management systems were only really billing engines. And they very rarely, we're talking maybe even more than 5 years ago, had any mobile or member app experiences altogether. And so as companies evolve now, you kind of have to shift away from being just a billing engine and be part of this movement to help your customers not only provide the billing, but also create those experiences for their members and customers and clients. And so us as SaaS providers have to be incredibly agile. Those that have never had member apps or member experiences before and it was just a back-end tool have got to create those now for the very first time. And we're seeing that with many players also going with an acquisition strategy to acquire others that have had plays in those areas. And there's been a lot of movement in the fitness industry, even in the SaaS perspective, because a lot of the larger and bigger players that have been around for a long time are starting to realize that they need those arms to the business too. And so, coming back to sort of where we're at, and that's being part of our strategy from day one to be agile, to be customer centric first, to have those member experiences. So it's already embedded in our culture. And in terms of this digital world, many of the SaaS providers saw the writing on the walls, as you said before, like it was only a matter of time. Everyone had it on their roadmap, and COVID certainly expedited the need to get that technology out to the customers. I know not only us, but many others had to quickly iterate the final versions of things that we'd be planning for a long time to take it to the market. And it's been incredibly exciting to watch all of the SaaS providers come up now during this period.
I think it's an amazing time for the fitness tech era. Like I mentioned before, like what you mentioned, agility and basically being able, forward thinking and having a really good culture to incorporate this into your software is exactly what sets OneFitStop. But that just moves on to my next question. You guys have grown exponentially in the past 2 years. What do you think differentiates OneFitStop from the market?
I think we've been just so fortunate to take on brands, really, high-end brands that have been able to grow with us. I mean, some of our brands that we took on were 5 locations when they started with a migration, and they've grown to 50 or 100 plus locations. And throughout these journeys of us being able to work with individuals and companies, they've been the ones who have driven our product roadmap. We've spent countless hours listening to them and actually being on site at their facilities with even a lot of the owners inside these franchise networks to understand the pain points, understand where it needs to become new efficiencies in the business of today. And because of that, I feel like at OneFitStop, we have a very deep and profound understanding of exactly what the fitness industry needs today, and how we go about solving those problems is what differentiates us in the market. And that's being felt by all of our customers when they see, or even prospective customers. It's that aha moment. Oh, it should have been that way from the beginning. I don't know why it ever wasn't. And so these are the things that the only way you get to understand that is by really getting on site and doing the time with your customers. And that's what we're really passionate about.
I guess what you mentioned, drilling into the basics of the customer's requirement, and especially considering that you are a software provider and just not shrugging it off as everything is online, but giving that personal touch is what that sets OneFitStop. So thank you for sharing. In choosing your right partner, basically, what questions must operators ask their software providers before they sign on the dotted line?
Never take the decision lightly. It's such a critical decision in the business. You don't want to have to go through migrations if you can avoid it, to change systems. It's a big job. And when those that decide to do those migrations, they obviously have enough pain points to warrant it. So we kind of break it into 2 buckets, and we help guide prospective customers to understand what decision they're even making in the beginning. So if you're a brand new facility, a greenfield site opening up for the first time, I mean, you have to know your business model before you choose a software. I mean, how can you choose a software and evaluate the competencies of that software if you don't even know what membership variants or packs or service layers that you're going to be creating in the business? And so definitely take the time to understand what you're creating first, and then your decision to choosing a software will become a lot easier. And for those that are considering migrating and switching systems, we always ask our customers, what is it that you absolutely love? Because there always is many systems and pieces that they actually really enjoy of these other systems in the market. But then we also dive into what is it that is really making you warrant and make this decision today to explore other alternatives. What are those pain points? And if we can solve for many of those, and also make sure we continue to do what you love in the other system, then it's a good decision to make a switch, because you are investing time and effort into that migration, and you do have to be incrementally gaining value by making that move. And so that's something that we definitely are passionate about in making. It's like a mutual decision for us in essence, to help guide prospective customers into that decision.
Perfect. Thank you so much for actually summarizing it in few words. I think no one could have said it better. So thank you so much for sharing this. I think one of the last questions that I wanted to ask is, what lies ahead for FitStop in building your business to the next level? Is there capital raise on the horizon?
Yeah, as we continue to grow, most of our growth to date has been organic growth, which has been fantastic in the SaaS world outside of fitness as well. Organic growth is the best way to get market validation and make sure that you can scale and get your systems in place, not just technology, but your support, your customer success, your account managers, and depth in your departments. But for us, there is a cap raise on the horizon. We do definitely want to continue to expedite our commercialization of the technology in the market, in the fitness industry that we're so passionate about. And we're very, very excited about that next stage in our journey.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing so many tips in this short interview. Thank you so much for taking time off for this interview. Thank you, Jarron. Is there any last words that you'd like to share for the industry in terms of moving forward and cruising through this pandemic?
You got to just stick to your guns. You got to be passionate about it. Don't get down. Some days you'll be up, and then some days will be a little bit harder, but you got to be passionate about moving forward. Be creative. Lean on the people around you. Make sure you don't lose whatever you do. Don't lose your team around you, because they're the lifeline of your facilities, of your businesses. And you got to treat everyone like you would, you want to be treated yourself if you were in their shoes. So just be passionate. It's tough, but stick it out. And I have no doubt everyone will go from strength to strength. And we're looking forward to meeting everyone one day as we come across you, everyone in the industry.
Thank you so much, Jarron. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Jarron, for a fantastic conversation. Next up, we've got a special guest presentation from Katrina Pilkington, a wellness advisor and educator at the National Academy for Sports Medicine, or NASM, of course, as you know it well. Kat has prepared a number of slides and is going to walk us through these on one of the most important topics in our industry at the moment in time: diversity and inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy a fantastic presentation from Kat. Here we go.
Hello, Fit Summit. My name is Katrina Pilkington, and welcome to our session today on diversifying your fitness business in order to reach a larger demographic. I want to share a little bit about myself with you and then delve right into this content about diversity. And more than likely, I'm going to be speaking about all three of these topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion in order to help all of us that work in this industry understand how impactful it can be to expand our reach to more humans and clients and students, etc., that we serve in an effort to reach a larger demographic and community. The word I have in the background of my intro slide here is imperfect. I am on this journey with you. I am always searching and learning about implicit bias, about learning about different ways to be more diverse and inclusive as a human. So I hope to be along with you on this journey purely as an imperfect fitness, inclusion, and bias guide. I am an NASM certified personal trainer amongst all the other specializations, namely nutrition coach and corrective exercise specialist, and as well as being an AFAA group fitness instructor and workshop educator. I work in the realm of helping families and communities build healthier habits to be proactive in their health and move forward with more focus on longevity and just happy, healthy living. My family and I thrive on a plant-based diet. That's a specialty of mine as well. And so I work with others in order to acclimate and transition to that lifestyle, as well as being a full-time student in that field of exercise science and nutrition. My history is I come from, before being in the fitness industry, a history of being in the corporate environment. And in that environment, I worked alongside hiring and human resources and delved into the world of diversity, wanting to understand more about this way of life within the workspace, but coming from the place of not fitting in throughout my entire upbringing. I'm a multiracial Black woman who grew up with a Chinese mother and a Black father, and just not ever quite fitting in my world. So I started learning how to fit into everybody else's social circles, not realizing that I was doing diversity, equity, and inclusion in my own life, and then wanting to learn more about it from a work perspective. So thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to join you in this material. So again, this session is all about offering diversity to attract a larger demographic. I know that many of you are here to learn about fitness business and learn from amazing CEOs and business owners, as well as those in the field. And the goal here is to understand that we are all on a common mission. Diversity is something that I'm going to explain to you in definitive form, but it's a place that we want to come to in order to help more folks that we are around. And when I say folks, I mean people, I mean humans. I might use those words interchangeably, but in an effort to keep expanding this world to a place where we are able to reach more that need us in this industry. So, as I said earlier, what does the word diversity mean? So diversity for me is feeling appreciated for my differences, not in spite of my differences. So in spite of means, okay, I'm going to let that stuff slide. No, we want to embrace everyone for their uniqueness, recognizing individual differences. And with each of these definitions I'm going to give you the opposite to help it stick a lot more. But the opposite of diversity is a more homogenous, look-alike world. What we can tend to see as clients and students previous to when we got into this industry is that representation was very important for us to feel like we could be part of that larger group, to feel like we could move forward from our beginnings in fitness and moving forward in our career. And it's very important to have a nice, vast, diverse group of individuals and people we're working alongside of, especially in our tight circles, so that that recognition and that representation is there across the board. And with all of those diverse beings and humans in our circle, there's more chance for those voices to be heard and to be understood in an empathetic way. Now, what does inclusion mean? So inclusion now takes diversity a step further and helps ensure that individuals feel a sense of belonging, but not, again, in spite of their differences, but because of their unique differences, and that their voice is heard as part of a community or company. So the opposite of this word is going to be excluded. So taking a step back, actually thinking about us all doing individual self-work right now by learning through these conference sessions, and also looking at what we can do on an organizational level to understand that, yes, we have sometimes a sense of hierarchy with management levels and different trainers and instructors that we work alongside of in education. However, everybody's voice should be understood and heard and embraced. We learn the most from those we're most different from. So I want you to think about diversity, meaning that you get to learn from so many different individuals, and inclusion, meaning that those individuals' voices are valued and appreciated. Now, what does equity mean? So a part of equity comes from this whole place of DEI work that I spoke about, but it's welcoming that variety, keeping everyone belonging and having a voice, and then also ensuring that everyone is treated fairly. This can come in the space of hiring, which I'll talk about later, pricing, packaging, looking at things from a broader perspective. And what it takes to do this work and to dig into this type of topic for fitness businesses is an open mind. Sometimes it's not comfortable to think, well, maybe my business or our business is not as diverse as it could be. It's not as inclusive as it could be. It's not as equitable as it could be. But it's not a bad thing. We're all good people. And on a neurological perspective, our biases and those things that feed our opinions and the way that we operate our businesses could be something that was there all along that we didn't know about. So this is purely about realizing what these terms mean, what they can mean for your business in this brief session, and then taking a step further after this session to delve into the material even further. A lot of times I'm going to repeat myself in this content, but my slides keep me focused. So why does diversity matter in fitness? Well, we have multiple populations that we're catering to, that we're marketing to. And our underlying goal specifically is to help alleviate or improve health conditions and increase the physical movement that can help link fitness to that health condition. And we want to ensure that we are not just seeing fitness as a means that's out of reach for many individuals, that it's accessible. And that can come from many different differences we have as humans, which I'll share, I believe, on the next slide. Fitness industry leaders and professionals come with our own set of biases. These can impact different facets of our fitness and wellness business. And once again, as I said, I will delve into that further on the next few slides. Communities that are served through fitness and wellness look to feel as if they are part of our in-group where they belong and have a voice. We have all in the fitness industry seen so much influx of increase in sales and then some, retention of folks and some loss of folks. What we want to do is keep everyone. And the way that we can do that is where they feel part of that in-group. An in-group simply refers to a group of individuals who have a unified mutual respect and understanding. So what makes our populations diverse? What are our differences? Now, I don't mean to name these differences in a means of saying, okay, this is what's going to split us apart. These are differences we want to embrace. These are differences we want to love everyone and respect everyone in spite of, or because of and not in spite of. And we want to know what differences exist out there that we want to be sensitive to in a way that we are opening up our doors and our organizations to embracing different individuals and not excluding these differences. So some of these differences could be ethnicity, which is country of origin, race, which is a social construct used to categorize based by skin shade. This is primarily something that's based in the United States that has trickled into the different parts of the world. We have generation, so segments in time and history which we were influenced by depending upon the year of our birth. So we have like the greatest generation. We have millennials. More recently, we have generation XY, which is where I try to cruise in between, but being in different generations and seeing different things happen in our time can influence our difference of opinion and thought. We have multiple differences here, parenting status, disability, which can come into play with our physical wellness and fitness facilities, something we want to think about making them more accessible, and understanding that with all these differences, what I don't want everyone to think is that they are completely binary, that you're either an ableist or you're disabled, or you're either Black or that you're white, or that you have a high socioeconomic status or you're a low socioeconomic status. With all of these differences, there just are many variations and very many levels to them. And it's just about understanding that for myself and for yourself listening to this session, that you understand that you might have your own particular category of human that fits into these specific dimensions for yourself. But that just means on the polar opposite side of this, that there could be another individual just like you that might be complete opposite of you at the same time that we might not be marketing to and we might not be reaching. So why this and why now? As I said earlier, we have a responsibility to tackle our own implicit bias. Implicit bias simply means an unconscious or unknown, perhaps opinion, preference, or thought about another type of human because of those differences. But we all have our own implicit bias because of our experiences, our thoughts, our lifestyle, our exposure. And in order to understand others that are most different from us, we have to have exposure to those most different from us. We have to learn about those most different from us. Our demographics are more diverse than we can see on the surface because a lot of those facets that make us different are under the surface. When we lead or hire or teach or instruct. So no matter where you fit on this, when you lead or hire or educate or teach or instruct without addressing internal implicit bias first, we can then take those opinions, those preferences, which can turn into stereotypes. And now we have formed an opinion or thought about another type of human that could be seen as a truth in our brain. And it doesn't mean that we're even consciously aware of this. Many of our biases are unknown. It's about peeling back the layers a little bit and recognizing, okay, I have biases. I want to understand what those are. And I want to make sure that I'm aware of them so I can consciously make an effort to implement these diversity, equity, and inclusion principles into my business. So I'm not excluding populations within my demographic that I can aim to help through this business of fitness and wellness. We don't want any kind of organization or company, or even if you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, to align any kind of negative association with a human group where stereotypes, like I said, can turn into mountains or small hills of discrimination that can only compound and compile. implicit bias within fitness, and I could delve more into bias. I'm trying not to because I know I don't have the time in this session, but I lead a workshop about implicit bias where I teach individuals how to understand how you neurologically are categorizing and classifying information because of the speed at which information is coming into your brain in an effort just a shortcut. I mean, it's just what our brains do. It's what they're made to do. It's how we are so smart and evolved. However, in the industry that we're in, our implicit bias has caused some issues with certain topics to leave individuals not feeling included and not welcoming that diverse group, such as body shape bias, which can include weight bias, overweight, underweight assumptions, hiring. So when it comes to the name of a person or what they put on their resume, their education level, their race, their age, their ethnicity, some individuals can be not let into an in-group or not appreciated for their diversity solely based on the inability to be hired. We have limitations, as I mentioned earlier, on accessibility with fitness and wellness care. So if we are not reaching into different socioeconomic classifications of humans, if we are not reaching into different disability groups or different parenting groups even, we are now not enabling them to come into our circle to receive our care. Promotion bias. So that kind of goes along with hiring bias, advancement limitations that could be limited due to somebody's differences. I mentioned a little bit earlier about how representation is so important. So seeing that having a diverse leadership group, having a diverse spectrum of speakers, of leaders, of trainers, of instructors can ensure that that representation is seen on the outside and that those communities can see themselves belonging within a brand, within a company. We have pricing inequities. So something to think about as an organization is how is your pricing pyramid spectrum packaging? How is it all done? Is it done in a way where we are welcoming individuals, or is it done in a way where we are omitting individuals? And some of the other topics that I mentioned, these are just a few facets that can lead to some discrimination. So understand, let me scooch my screen over a little bit so you can see what I wrote. I'm going to move my little head over. So understanding that our communities can help us understand their needs. Consulting and reviewing with diversity and inclusion and equity consultants, there's some like myself, but again, I don't represent all populations. There are many that you can consult with. Crowdsourcing your clients, customers, and staff for their view of your organization. Dissecting the structural foundation of hiring practices and marketing models is extremely important. Discovering barriers that could make your facility or organization inaccessible for groups of individuals and why. And then understanding that certain groups can be less active if unable to reach our business. So we have to take that step to say, okay, if I'm not equipped to look at the diversity of my own business or organization because perhaps my own bias is still seeing I don't really have an issue here, or I'm not sure where to start, there are plenty of consulting businesses or companies or individuals or organizations that are happy to sit alongside and delve into this work with you to break down your structure, look at how hiring is done, look at who's doing the hiring to ensure that those that are at the top tier down are diverse and then trickling down that effect. Crowdsourcing clients, customers, and staff is a great way to get feedback from those that are working within your organization or company or facility. It's important to get everyone's feedback. And it's really easy for us as business owners to say, okay, let me not agree with that feedback because I don't see that as truth. And diverse opinion or a diverse bit of feedback could be what leads your company to an even higher degree of success. And it could be completely opposite of what you think, as we stated earlier. So staying open to opinions and knowing that if everybody is on board to make this a greater place for individuals to feel that it's all in good nature and that it's all for the betterment of the organization. Dissecting structural foundations of hiring practices is a big piece of maybe possibly consulting out to dissect how hiring is done, to dissect how hiring has been completed in the past compared to where it's going to be going in the future. That way that you can discover barriers that can make your facility and organization more accessible to different groups, not only through hiring, but through marketing, but through implementation, through integration. So when I say the words representation and integration, those are where diverse individuals feel included. But when you have a thing we call here in the States called tokenization, it's where we have maybe multicultural marketing. Perhaps you put out new tools that show a diverse population. but is that diverse population truly represented within the housing of your company? So I have I'm going to scooch my head over again so you can see my slide. You have some bits of resources and research, and I'm very big about this because I want you to see that there are a lot of different books perhaps that you could reference. There are a lot of research topics that you can reference where you can see that a lot of research has been done around hiring, around discrimination, around diversity's impact on someone's inclusivity being felt within a company or facility. So feel free to use any of these tools here that I've provided there's one about weight bias, there's one about resumes, implicit bias in healthcare. There's some about actually working on implicit bias that are great books that I recommend. So three of my favorites. One is Overcoming Bias, another is called The Person You Mean to Be, and another one is called Biased. So they're all about just doing the self-work. I'm a huge believer in the fact that if we all do our self-work, it will all get better. We will all see diversity in everything that we touch if we are open to honing in on what we can work on individually. So I loved this quote from Malcolm Forbes about diversity, and it was a great way to tie in the end of this session, which is diversity is the art of thinking independently together. So it's all about, like I said, everybody doing their self-work and working through what they can do to be more diverse as a human, having more diverse circles of influence and colleagues and those that we talk to and get feedback from and give it to. But if we all are special in our own right and have our own way of being independent, but then we all unify and come together for the greater good, how amazing could our industry be? How amazing could it be to reach more folks and more individuals that need our businesses, that need our products, that need our structure to feel inclusive, and then see how to make it more equitable? It's empowering what that could do for all of our businesses. So I just want to thank you for joining me today as I scooch my head up a little bit further. I would love to stay connected. I thank you all for joining me so much in this small segment. I'm here as a lifeline to talk to further. I know this is a pretty short session and I do a lot more, like I said, in this realm of work that I've discussed, but I'm available on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn by my first and last name, Katrina with a K and Pilkington with a P as in Paul. I'm an open book and I love to have dialogue around these topics. So please just know that I would love to stay connected with you and know that diversity is something that we just want to embrace. It's the first step in inclusion, and then making fitness businesses and wellness businesses more equitable for individuals to feel like this is home. We don't just train, we don't just market, and we don't just instruct people. We instruct humans who have a story and that want to have a place to belong. That's essentially what we all want to feel, that our voice matters and that we are loved because of our differences and not in spite of our differences. So thank you once again for joining me. And I really, truly hope to connect with everyone on another level, on the Instagram, on the internet, on the social media side of things. Thank you again and have a wonderful rest of your Fit Summit.
The biggest fulfillment is knowing that as a fitness professional, I could change that person's life.
I wanted to motivate people to live the life of their dreams and become the best versions of themselves.
What I'm most passionate about is getting people to achieve goals they never even thought of having.
Guiding someone and seeing the happiness, what their bodies can actually do and how much they can push past that limit. No words can describe that.
When you look at the participants that come to class, they want to have a sense of an experience. You bring that experience to a much higher level.
It's evidence-based. That means it's replicable. You can get results for your clients every single time.
I'm so passionate about the fitness industry because I get to impact, I get to inspire, and I get to change lives every day.